welcome to The Last Standee, a board game podcast coming to you from two exciting countries in Europe. I'm Fen, coming to you from Sweden, and with me is Cara.
Hello, from Germany.
Yeah, hello. Just the two of us today. There was going to be a third, but personal reasons not available. These things happen. So we're just going to be talking a little bit about the Game of Thrones expansion. Mother of Dragons. I'm also going to get a bit into Sidereal Confluence, which I don't know if we've properly covered here. I was going to talk about the expansion, but it ended up for our yearly Sidereal Confluence. We didn't play with the expansion at all, so can't really cover that. Cara, you're going to be covering Senjutsu, is that right? Senjutsu Battle for Japan, right, yes. Which I was looking at a little bit beforehand and discovering that it's a big part of Naruto, only that's not what this is. So I look forward to hearing about that, but we'll have a little catch up first. So outside of what you're going to be talking about, how have things been?
So things are generally good right now. I am in the process of buying a new used car, later this evening. I will sign the contract, and then I will have a slightly less older car with AC in it. So that's nice. It's also the main reason why I'm getting another car, because my old car, which is from 1999, doesn't have AC, which is okay for myself. I don't need it. I can just open the windows and enjoy the breeze and sweat. But I have a dog, and with temperatures as they are sometimes now, driving in my car with my dog is not possible. Simply put.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We have a Toyota hybrid. It's got really nice AC, but we still some days I have to stay back with Pam, our dog, because it's just we can't pop down to, which is just a few kilometers away. It's one of the larger towns. Can't even go there with her because she just get cooked on the way. It's even worse at the moment. We have a full-blown heat wave going on, and for the sake of recording this podcast, I've had to turn off the AC in this room because my headset microphone's broken. But I used a desk microphone for this anyway, and that will just pick up the whirring of the fan. So yeah, it's what model of car are you getting?
I am getting VW. Wait, don't let me make it wrong. I think a Polo, but
a Volkswagen Polo.
Yeah, I think it's from 2006, the Goal edition. It was from the football World Championship or something, a special edition. I don't know. It's a regular car. It just has Goal written somewhere on it. So, but yeah, it's I really like it because I was in luck through my Warhammer 40k community. I met someone who recently moved into this town I'm living in, and we started talking hey, we are living so close to each other, so we can just meet up sometime, and we got to talk about the issue with my car and that I don't have AC, and he was like, hey, I'm selling my old car because I just got a new one. So there's that. Warhammer 40k brings people together or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was interested because an old Volkswagen Polo, a little red one, was my sister's first car that she got after learning to drive. So I was just I know that brand, but I imagine yours look quite different to hers, because hers was I think it came from the 90s or something. It was pretty old by the time she got it. Really boxy little red thing. So I would be surprised to learn.
I did didn't want to buy a new car. I wanted to wait until I can afford an electric car.
Yeah.
But now I need a new car, and I can't afford an electric car right now. So here we are. So I'm getting another old one for the next 2 or 3 years while I save up for
it's
a fancy electric vehicle.
It's such a big improvement. That before our current car, we had a completely electric Toyota, and it was just amazing. Like it at times during the summer, it would earn us money by charging because like the rates had dropped to the negative, and the car was just like gimme, gimme, gimme. Our current one, as I said, is a hybrid, so it's really fuel efficient. I'm not happy. It feels like a step backwards, but we kind of didn't have a choice because we don't. It's not like a fully owned bought car. It's on a contract type thing, and the previous one ran out, and we had to make a change. We still see the old car around. It's occasionally parked up, and it's nice to see it. Pam still gets excited because she recognises it. Tries to am I going in the boot? It's like, no, sorry, girl, it's not our car anymore. We all miss it, but yeah. But I would never go back to fully petrol. Honestly, we don't have a far enough travelling to need any kind of fuel on that front. And there's so many charging stations in Sweden now. We even got just outside the airport an electric road that will charge your car while driving on it.
What?
Yeah. It's used for the buses and everything. It's Sweden's first electric road. It's been there for a little while now, so it's pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so cars, dogs, and heat. Yeah. Let's start. I'll begin with
What about you?
What about me? Oh, good point. What about me? Well, I kind of got into some of it. It's really hot here. We're at the tail end of a heat wave, and despite having some rainfall, there's severe water shortages on the island. There's lots of concerns about that. And for those people who don't know, Gotland has about 60,000 people on it, and it's a limestone island, so it's got a pretty porous water level, like the groundwater. And we've last year, every year since we've been here, it's been more and more of you must not, don't water your garden. Luckily, our garden is it's mostly hardy, designed to survive through that kind of stuff. It doesn't need watering all the time. But this year they've been murmuring about, hey, we might have to switch you across to water that you will need to boil before you drink, which hasn't happened yet, but we've gone 60,000 people. There's 120-ish thousand people on the island right now. And on top of that, with heavy industry and everything, it's just, we don't know. It's all fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes, but who knows? You might see in the European news that Gotland's experiencing requiring water to be shipped across from the mainland or something. We'll just have to see. Hopefully, it doesn't come to that. Beyond that, I think last time I briefly mentioned I was ordering Star Trek Captain's Chair and Unstoppable. So Star Trek Captain's Chair is a re-implementation of Imperium Classics and Imperium Horizons to smooth and streamline it all down. And I'm just going to say, if you're at all interested in Star Trek, if you're at all interested in a deck builder that's really mechanically good, it's amazing. It's really, really good. There's some expansions coming out. It plays just 1 or 2 players at the moment, but it is thematic as heck. You look at the characters and you're like, I know why this character has this ability. It's because of this thing. So it's tied together fantastically. I probably will talk about it in the future, but I just wanted to say here, if you see a copy out there, it's really worth picking up. It's not that expensive, and my only complaint so far is the insert is garbage if you sleeve your cards. But if you don't sleeve them, it's a really good insert. So it's my 90% insert where I'm like, they could have put a little bit more room into the wells for the cards by shrinking the other areas, the blank areas of the insert. They were nearly there. They just didn't bother with it. And Unstoppable is also really good. Trent Big Dino Denison's playing it on his channel at the moment on YouTube. Shout out to Trent. Really good at games. And I picked up Unstoppable independently from him, and I was so excited when I saw he started playing it. It's a deck builder where you put the cards together from different like sheets. You put different elements of the card inside a sleeve, up to like 4, I think it is. And it's effectively a little mini boss battler, roguelite, 1 to 2 player, where you just try and build up momentum and get your deck going strong enough to take down the boss at the end. It's amazing. I think both of these 2 games might be some games of the year on people's lists, or I wouldn't be surprised to see them both make it into the top 250 solo games at a minimum. They're really good, and they are not big boxes either, which is nice. They don't take up a lot of space, and Unstoppable clearly has a lot of room in it. It fits sleeved cards. It comes with sleeves because you need them, and it has tons of room for like expansion. So I'm not worried about even if I get all that stuff, it expanding too far. So that's my big recommendations. And then I also experienced possibly one of the worst things that's happened in recent times for somebody who plays like board games, card games, or anything like that. I ordered from a chap in the north of Sweden about €40 worth of Magic cards. Actually, like 101 cards. They're good cards. They're for cubes, so they weren't necessarily expensive, but a nice big batch, 100 cards to sort into cubes and to have available for swapping in and out. Fantastic. Some of them I'm just paying like pennies for. I picked it up last week, and the package looked a bit dinged up, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. But it's not unusual to see a dinged up package with a ton of tape all over it. That's kind of normal. I got home and I opened it. I have never ever seen damage to cards like this. Absolutely insane is the only way to describe it. 101 cards, 8 are playable. The remainders are all either not there because I haven't fully counted all of the cards, or they're damaged. I'm going to describe a little bit of the damage, but I'm going to put a couple of pictures into the chat for Cara to see, so you can hear a live reaction to. Right, I'll put them in the usual recording notes. Here we are. That's the first lot I saw, which is 5 cards.
What the?
I know. So what you can see there, we've got like Hostile Takeover and a few other cards, like special borders, but again, not expensive. One of them looks like it's been kicked. Another 2 of them just look like they've been slapped around. The third one, you can't quite see all of the damage, but it's basically had the art scraped off it, like this card. I don't even know. I don't know how this happens, and so I'll share one more because this is absolutely mind-boggling. That the damage on like some of the cards is entirely different, and yet it's just I don't understand how all of these cards in the same package got damaged in so many different ways at all. So there's several cards like this, which is it basically looks like it's been folded over as a book, and then the top cover has been folded back. And you can also see just above Elspeth there with some damage. So absolutely mind-boggling. The guy I contacted, he like asked for a load of photos, and he was like, yeah, that package is not looking like how I sent it. And all we can gather is somewhere in the shipping process, this got bust open, and then it looks like it was danced on, kicked, smacked with poles, thrown at the wall, scraped through mud. There's actually one card that is just covered in mud. And then at the end of it all, it was stuffed back in and then hastily, badly sellotaped up. Yeah, hang on. Here's the mud covered card. Like, I don't understand. I really don't get it at all how this could have happened. And it made it's very difficult to photograph stuff in the room I was photographing in. That mud is like thick. It's caked on and really high up. So yeah. I haven't gotten a refund yet because he's waiting for DHL. It's DHL to refund him, but even if they don't, he's still obligated to refund me. So I'm just being nice. I'm not going through the proper support process yet. I'm giving him the time to try and sort it out. But yeah, I ain't paying for these. so sad. But yeah, I don't know. It's the highest level of incompetence I have seen in shipping, and I have problems with shipping. Like, there's clearly some people who are bad in the shipping process to here. But yeah, so that's a big pile of fancy recycling. If I can recycle it, they got plastic in them. Yeah, that's the really fun part of my week.
Nice.
Yeah. Like I say, at the end of the day, I will get my money back, but it's actually just kind of sad that there's a whole bunch of genuinely good, mechanically interesting cards that were going to have homes in cubes, and now they're just going off. It's rubbish. They're just done. So, let's now.
I mean,
finally,
just to ask, like in Magic tournaments, like rules wise speaking, could you technically use placeholder cards and say, here, look, I actually have this card, it's just not in a playable condition?
Depends on the tournament. I think probably yes. Depends entirely on the level of everything. But I mean, I don't play competitive Magic anymore. They don't really have it on where I'd have to go to Stockholm for it.
Yeah, just was curious.
Yeah, some of these technically could still be played in the sleeve as long as it wasn't obvious they were damaged. Like if the sleeve flattened it out and from the backs they looked the same and the same thickness. But I mean, good luck with this living. I can't even tell. It's living breakthrough, I guess, from Kamigawa. I think it is. I could bet. I know it's a Moonfolk, and that's about all I can. Yeah, it's Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Yeah, but I really don't know.
And I think something happens when something with a spell.
I do actually know. It's whenever whenever you cast a spell, your opponents can't cast a card with the same mana value as that until your next turn. It's like a stacks piece. It's a double-sided card that flips over into this creature. It's very powerful, but just for like limited cube environments. It never saw play in any kind of competitive thing. Unlike that Elspeth, which actually did see some play. But yeah. So
okay.
Yes, indeed. A moment of silence has already been given for these. Let's get on to talking about the games. We'll do a sandwich. So I'll talk about Game of Thrones, and then I'll talk a little bit about Sidereal at the end.
Okay.
And then you can have the middle. Right. So Game of Thrones, Mother of Dragons. We've talked about Game of Thrones in the past. So I'm not going to be going through the rules. I'm mostly going to be going through what it adds. So there's 3 expansions for the second edition of Game of Thrones, but really this is the only big box one. The other 2 are like small piles of cards. What it's doing is adding, like technically it says in the rulebook, this is not a modular rulebook, like not a modular expansion, but it kind of is. It's adding an extra 2 houses. So it's adding House Arryn, who are located between Stark and Baratheon. They're blue in the game. And House Targaryen, who have dragons. They're purple. And they have a whole extra continent that sits on the side called Essos. Or Essos. I know, Westeros, Easteros, Essos. I don't know very much about the world of Game of Thrones, even though I play this board game quite a bit. I mostly play this because it's like a good version of Diplomacy, which is a modernised version of that. And being in a fantasy world, it's a bit... I'm not a big fan of like historical military stuff or like real world politic kind of stuff. It's all a bit too. I want that level of separation away, you know. So when it's fantasy or sci-fi or something or fictional, it's a bit easier for me to grip with, and I really like the dynamics of Game of Thrones board game. I'll call it Game of Thrones from now on.
Yeah.
So what this brings in is, as I say, House Targaryen, House Arryn, Essos. It brings in the Iron Bank. It brings in a whole extra thing called vassal houses, and a couple of updates to the board. And I'm kind of the opinion this is an essential. And I'll briefly go into sort of why. So, or maybe not briefly. I'm going to talk about this from the perspective of House Stark, because I play a lot of House Stark when I play this. House Stark's probably the second weakest house in the core board game. Lannister is definitely the weakest, because basically if House Greyjoy wants to snuff them out, they can, and there's not much Lannister can do about it. They get horribly squeezed. The expansion does do a little to address that as well, which is cool. But for House Stark, they have a couple of unique issues. First of all, while they sit at like one end of the board, sort of, and it looks like they're very far away, they actually just have gigantic provinces. Mm-hmm. So they have a very small space that visually looks quite big. And of course, as near as you get to the good guys in Game of Thrones, I think House Stark is probably as close as you get. They certainly seem to be the protagonists of the story by the end of the whole TV show, from my understanding. So they have that extra little thing going against them. So psychologically, people look at House Stark and go, "Oh, they got big space on the board. Oh, and they're the good guys. They're the ones who win the Game of Thrones." I don't know. Really sound like I don't. I really don't know too much. I actually know a lot of what happens in the show because I passively absorbed it because it's being watched while I was working. But for Game of Thrones. Yeah. Anyway, so the really tricky part about House Stark is you have probably the worst resources at the start of the game. And you have only 3 routes towards the rest of the board. Like the vast majority of Westeros has a ton of provinces, and they're located in the middle and like south section of it. Up in the north, there's not that much. Now, you do have the advantage that you've got 2 of the best, safest power building provinces in Castle Black and Carhold. It's really hard for anyone to get to those, especially Carhold. But you are dependent on 2 sea routes and then a land route which only goes through Moat Carlin. So you can either go through Moat Carlin, or you've got to get through the Narrow Sea, or you got to get through the Sunset Sea. And the Sunset Sea is Greyjoy's territory. Greyjoy are the naval faction. Forget about it. The best you can do on the west side is in Bay of Ice. You stick a boat there to let you know when Greyjoy's coming, so you have a little bit of time to build a defence. Now, thankfully, the second edition added ports. Without ports, the first edition was a nightmare because you would just get blockaded and sit there going, "Well, this is great. I can't do anything." So ports let you build, but forced to get back and push them out. But ultimately, that side is kind of, unless House Greyjoy is a vassal house, you just can't get down that side of the map at all, which sucks for you and it sucks for Lannister because you can't put much pressure onto Greyjoy, and Lannister just get squeezed. But on the other side, there's the Narrow Sea, and the Narrow Sea it's huge. It touches about half of the territories you care about. It touches all of the Fingers Peninsula, and that's where House Arryn goes. I'll talk about that in a moment. But it's massive, and more importantly, House Baratheon wants it, and so the opening 1 to 2 turns of every time I play with experienced players is this fight between Stark and Baratheon to try and just hold this. And if you cannot get any kind of deal worked out, you can just get shut off. The moment they take the Narrow Sea and manage to solidify their position, that's another route you just can't go down. So you're just left with Moat Carlin in the middle. You can't even easily get to Greywater Watch because there's a river. And then when you get further down, there's another river that splits that whole section down the middle. It's a mess. So that's kind of how hard it is for House Stark, and hopefully you understand a few of the difficulties. Like I say, it looks it looks like a good position. And I like sitting at the head of the table in the north and not being anywhere near Stinky House Martell. That makes me happy. Actually, in truth, I like allying with House Martell because they're too far away to do anything with. But what happens with the expansion with Mother of Dragons is, first of all, the peninsula I was talking about with the Eyrie, the Mountains of the Moon and all that, it becomes the territory of House Arryn. So suddenly there's another house in between Baratheon and Stark in an area that previously tended to be like a rush place for, you'd see Lannister, Greyjoy, Stark and Baratheon all try and push in on it because it's just a big section of empty territory with a stronghold city. Now with House Arryn there, that suddenly changes the dynamic and they have a new overlay to break it apart and set it out properly for them. But the really big thing is the Narrow Sea gets cut in half and the bay area towards White Harbour becomes the Bight. And that is huge because suddenly if you lose the Narrow Sea as Stark, you can fight for it because you've got this other section they can't really get into. So this is I'm putting up you can see on Board Game Geek, if you go to the second edition Mother of Dragons, you'll find somebody's uploaded an image of the vassal setup, and this shows the changes, and suddenly you can see how House Arryn occupy this big old space, and also another key thing is House Lannister actually starts with 3 ships in their bay area instead of 2. That does enough to stop Greyjoy bullying the heck out of them, which improves the game for Lannister as well. So I've talked a lot because it's only 2-3 changes. It overhauls everything for the normal game, even if you're not playing 7 players. I think the map updates are fantastic, and at the very least, if you only own the base game, look at the Bight and then get a little printed sticker version of it and stick it on your board because it fixes so much of the dynamics and pulls everyone a bit closer together. Then we've got the vassal houses. These, I think, are the best part of the game. So what they do is any house that's not being played still goes on the board. You have a card that shows your setup for them, tells where all they put their different things, and then they become literally vassal states, as it's suggested, and you'll bid to try and take control of them. And so that means these houses get passed back and forth and they get used in different ways. It keeps the board full, it keeps it tight, and it means from any player number from 3 to 7, it now just clicks absolutely fantastically. I think it's such a good update, and I wouldn't want to play without it. We played 6 players, so there was just House Arryn as the vassal state, and they were really key. There was a constant back and forth and push on them to try and take control of that. And it was really interesting. They ended up being very important to handle House Targaryen, which I'll get to in a moment. But before that, we have the Iron Bank, which I think is nice. When we played, people kind of didn't interact with it too much. But essentially, it's offering you a bunch of extra services that you can pay power for. But once you take those services, which could be, say, a bunch of extra power, like a loan, or some extra troops, or things like that. Even the ability to turn, get an extra support or power onto a location. Once you do that, you have to pay the bank interest for the rest of the game, so you have less power. Thematically brilliant. I was the only person to really use them, and they were really good for me. Everyone else was a bit cautious about taking debt, and I was like, hey, the game only lasts so long, I don't care. I'll just keep this dude up at the top of the map and he can keep producing power to pay my interest. Yeah, so I think it's good. It adds a bunch, gives you an extra order token as well. And there's even these elements of upgrading and degrading different parts of the map. So you can improve areas or ruin them. That's all super interesting. The last bit is House Targaryen, which I think is the part of the game I don't want to play with all the time. So it adds in the board of Issos, and I uploaded a picture. It looks quite nice, the map there. That's not how it looks when you play
Mm-hmm.
at all, because the original Game of Thrones board has has all of the tracks on the right hand side of the board, so they sit between Essos and Westeros, and it creates this horrible sort of thing you're looking at of like what's connected to where, and that it's not good. We played with a rolling mat, and that like tied it all up really nicely. I'm just trying to find a actual image that shows how bad this is, so you can see. But maybe I can't find it. That's fine. Yeah, so it's it's visually noisy. Here we are. Here's one. So you can see this. You basically end up playing the game, and you have all the influence tracks and everything down the middle,
God.
and then you've got Essos like pushed off to the side, when actual fact it should just be connecting across.
Yeah, actually see an image of someone who just cut off the tracks from the original board.
yeah, it's so much cleaner once. Like I say, I have the reorganized one from Rolling Mats, and it's gorgeous, and it's really clear. They moved all the stuff like to the other side and near the top. Works really, really well. So anyway, House Targaryen, they have basically have an entire continent to themselves. They also have 3 unique units in that they've got dragons, and these dragons start off very, very weak, but as the game progresses there's a number of points where they'll grow in strength, and by the end of the game they are absurdly powerful. Like if you're running it too far on, they are a ton of strength in a single unit, and they are overwhelming. So the first price Targaryen pays is their dragons. If somebody jobs a dragon quickly, that's it. It's gone, and you've really lost out an awful lot. But the second price they pay is they don't win in the same way as everyone else. Normally you win by holding the highest number of like strongholds, cities kind of thing. They don't care about that. They're looking to grab influence from the board, and they don't know exactly where it's going to turn up. It's generated by cards. It's like the peasantry start going, yay, we want the Targaryens back, woo! And it's fun. It's also really interesting because the main houses get a little bit of a chance to sort of dictate where it's going on the mainland a little bit. They sometimes get to decide, so you can try and point the Targaryens in a direction that's helpful for you and everything. But it also puts a ton of pressure on the board, because if the game runs long, House Targaryen will generally win. They just have the overwhelming inevitability, which I like, because it does force the game to come to an end and people can't turtle, but also it can catch you off guard if you're not aware that you need to be way more aggressive, because House Targaryen have the long game. And the other thing is, because they don't really take part in the Game of Thrones, so they don't do anything with any of the tracks. They instead spend their power to like mess around with pushing things up and down on the track order. So they actually have a lot of political power. It's just quite sort of a soft power, I guess. It's interesting, but ultimately I think, as I say, I think the base map of Westeros with like up to 7 players with House Aaron in there is a better experience than with House Targaryen. House Targaryen's nice for a little bit of spice occasionally, but the main game updated with the vassals and the extra house and the map updates, that's really, really good. So that's it. That's Mother of Dragons, and I do think it's really good. Some of the updates I wish they'd been released separately from House Targaryen, because it pushes the price of the box up quite a bit. But it's turned a good game into a really good game. I finally feel like it's House Stark I maybe can win instead of coming in like 3rd place most of the time. That's exciting, and it's nice to not see House Lannister just get, House Greyjoy turn into Lannister and saying, either you do what I say or I'm just going to cut you out of this game because of how important these are. It's really nice that it's done that. So yeah, my big negative is they've not added that to the app, the Steam version, which is a real shame. They've got, I think the Steam version has the smaller expansions on it. Yeah, it has Dance of Dragons and Feast of Crows, but they've not implemented this. I'd love them to do that because it's. Have you played on the app at all?
Once or twice I tried it out.
Yeah. It really smooths things out. I think it makes the game a lot faster, which is I like. As well as being able to play remotely. So yeah, that's it. Recommendation for me. I think it's a great addition. I'd love to see them add more to this. The first edition had a specific 4-player only map. I'd love them to re-implement that. They have a 4-player scenario, I think, with a Feast for Crows, but I'd really like to see them do more. But hey, that's Fantasy Flight these days. What do? They print Arkham, Star Wars, and Marvel, and that seems to be kind of it. Which is a shame because they've done some really great games for me in the past. So, yep, please bring it back and give us a Doom expansion as well while you're at it, Fantasy Flight. I love the 2016 Doom game and it needs an expansion. But yeah. Any other comments or observations, Cara, from your Game of Thrones experience?
I feel like now I really have to get this expansion. I had it on my wish list for a while, and then I figured I'm not getting people together to play it anymore, but it sounds really good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Just the vassal states alone is worth it for smaller player counts. It's made it easier to get this on the table with like 4, even 3 players is tight as heck because there's 4 vassal houses for grabs kicking around, so everyone's got way more reach and influence. It's I'm really happy I've got it, and about the only thing I feel left I need to do is just get a good insert, which I mine up the Laser Ox one, but there's a whole bunch of inserts I need. But anyway, that's the first of my topics. Let's take it across to you, Cara, with a Senjutsu. Is that it?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey!
So, Senjutsu Battle for Japan, a Kickstarter game that was released 2023. I'm not really sure when the Kickstarter was. Back during the Kickstarter, I did back and then I backed out because I had a very complicated relationship with the Kickstarter. It felt very FOMO, cash grabbing, whatever. And so in the end, I decided against it. Last year, I stumbled upon it again and noticed, hey, there is a sale going on a website, and I could grab it for less than it would have cost in a Kickstarter. With, not some deluxe stuff like replacing tokens with metal tokens or stuff like that. But so I got it, and now finally I got to try it out. Senjutsu is at its core, it's a 2-player competitive battler. Plays quick, like half an hour, and you're done. And each controlling one character. It can be played with 1 to 4 players. It has solo mode. It does have a solo campaign that you can play through. It does have a cooperative campaign you can play through. It does have rules for how to handle multiple characters on the board, not just 2. Like, hey, what if I do an attack and there is a friendly player next to me as well? And so it's all covered in some way. At its core, it's 1v1. Can easily be played 2 versus 2. Or 3-player, free for all, whatever. Each player controls 1 character. In the core game, you have don't let me be wrong, a warrior, a ronin, a master, and a student. And you control your character with your deck of cards, which you assemble beforehand. So in a way, it's a deck building game. Each character comes with a core card, which is like their go-to standard move, which allows them to draw new cards or change their stance. Then you pick a weapon. Each character has a couple of weapons they may choose from. For the weapon you choose, you get a card that's the core card for this weapon, so you have a standard attack. Then you have signature cards for the character, which are basically this character's specific moves they can do. And then you have general, generic ability cards that you can add to your deck. In total, 30 to 40 cards per deck. And there are some limitations, like each ability card is in one of 4 levels. There is the green one, the jade level, the yellow one, the gold level, the gray one, the steel level, and the brown one, the wood level. And in your deck can only be 1 jade card, 8 gold cards, whereas each gold card can only be in there once. Each steel card can be in there twice, and each wood card can be in there 3 times. And yeah, so you build your deck and you start playing. Goal is to kill or disable your opponent, either by giving them wounds up to their health limit, or by stunning them. Each stun is wait, where did I put it? I'm not sure. I misplaced the stun cards, which is fine. There. Stun cards, when you get stunned, you get a stun card, which is a card you get into your hand, and it blocks one of your slots. You can have 5 cards aside from your core cards in hand. So if you got 5 stun cards, you're pretty much done. And not pretty much, then you lost. And so each stun you get means you have less options to choose from. There are like cards like bandages that let you discard up to 2 stun cards. But yeah. Same with wounds. You get a wound card, and once you have 5 or how many wounds your character has acquired, you have lost. There are also bleeding wounds. That's the backside of the wound card. Bleeding wounds count as a wound, and in addition, every time you at the start of a turn, you draw a card from your deck. If you have a bleeding wound, you discard the first card from your deck and then draw a card. So you go through your deck faster, which is bad because there is no reshuffling. When you're through your deck and you have to draw a card, you get a wound. So there is a time constraint which makes sure the game doesn't drag on too long, and also means it's a bad idea to just move back into a corner and try to avoid the enemy, because at some point you are out of cards and you just get damaged, though this counts for both players. So that's basically the game. There are some interesting things. So when you first play the game, chances are you will be very confused and feel like, how the fuck am I supposed to play this? I really love the top review on Board Game Geek, which has the title, I am the greatest samurai, watch me swipe at the air while you attack my rear. Which is basically the feeling I had when I first tried out this game, because it feels very limited. You have these cards in your hand, and then it's your turn. You have to pick one of these cards in your hand to play. And, well, they tell you how you can move. And, like, you can't just say, yes, I'm moving to my opponent and attack them, because maybe you don't have a card that lets you actually move towards them. Or maybe you do have an attack card, but the attack card says you first have to take one step to the side and then you attack. But the enemy is right in front of you, so damn it doesn't help you. You walk to the side and then you attack and miss him. So that's a little weird start, but after 2 or 3 games, I don't know, it just feels like it starts to click. And also when you get a little bit of feeling for your deck and what your character can do, you start to think a little ahead and like, okay, yeah, right now I can't really attack, but if I play this card and move and take a step back, chances are I will get a card that lets me do this and that, or so yeah. And actually, when you look at the board and just follow how the characters move, I think it becomes clear what they're trying to do is they distinctly don't want to have this move towards your enemy and you start hacking away at them. They want to have like the feel of a somewhat tactical fight between two professionals that exchange blows, take a step back, circle each other, wait for an opening, and you have that. There is a lot of movement going on, like small steps, circling each other, taking a step back, charging, maybe missing because the other player is moving aside, and so that's pretty cool. Attacks themselves are pretty simple. The card shows you on a hex grid where's your character with the facing and which hexes are hit by your attack. It can be one hex, it can be multiple hexes if you do a big slash or whatever. And exclamation marks show an enemy in this hex gets 1 damage. If there are 2 exclamation marks, it gets 2 damage. If there is a drop, it means they get a bleeding wound. Yeah. On the other side, there are defense cards which block. They show the same thing. You have the hex grid with where is your character and in which direction are they facing and which hexes are they blocking. And either if an enemy is in one of those hexes that's attacking you, you block their attack. Or if they are, for example, attacking with a bow and shoot at you, and the attack is going through one of the hexes that's blocked, you block the attack. And interesting here, defense cards have a variable initiative. So each card has an initiative. Highest initiative starts. So every character or every player picks a card, puts it down with the backside up. And once everyone has chosen their card, you reveal the cards and go in initiative order. Defense cards have a variable initiative. For example, this one is a pretty good one from 9 to 2, and which means any attack in this range, this card can block, and you have to choose. So if you would play with multiple, with more than 2 players, and there are 2 attacks that might be relevant, you have to pick at which initiative you want to actually block. and only at this initiative it works. Which also means if there is like a very fast attack, like initiative 7, and your defense card blocks initiative 3 to 6, you are too slow. You don't manage to block the attack. There are also like effects that might happen if attack or block is successful, and then the last card type is basically meditation cards, which are like utility cards that just let you move or change your combat stance or whatever. And which leads me to combat stances. Each character has a card with their combat stances. There are 4 different stances: the neutral one, in which you start the game in, an aggressive one, and a defensive one, and a concentration stance, red, yellow, and green. And some cards have colored sections which only apply when you are in the corresponding stance. You can't freely move between the stances, but you have to move with some card effects. So that's another thing to keep in mind and to plan ahead. So it might be that you have a really good attack card, but you have to be in your aggressive stance to play it, and you aren't right now. So first you have to play a meditation card that lets you change your stance into the aggressive stance, and in the next turn you can do this attack. Other cards force you to change the stance to a different stance, like you make an attack and after that you go into a defensive stance. So Then there's also a 5th position on these stance cards, which is the focus. It's a stance you can't keep, so if you move into it, you immediately move out of it again. But if you do that, you get a focus token. You can have up to 3. Some very strong cards require you to pay focus to play them. 1, 2, 3 focus. And other cards have optional sections on them, which you can enable by playing focus. So that's basically the game. If 2 cards have the same initiative, like if 2 players play the same initiative card, there is an order, like defense cards are handled first, then attack cards, then meditation cards. If there are still 2 cards at the same initiative, like both players play an attack card at initiative 5, you look at the advantage. Each character has an advantage value at the start of the game. You compare those and place tokens for each character in the game on a track, highest advantage higher up. And that's basically the tiebreaker. Though not just high advantage goes first, but highest advantage chooses who goes first or when they want to handle their card, because sometimes you might want to wait for your opponent's action before you do your own. With movement, there is optional movement and mandatory movement. If a movement symbol on a card is completely black, it means you have to do this movement. If it's white, you may do this movement, but you don't have to. Which means there can be collision. If you move and you have the option to move in a way that there is no collision, you have to take that. But if your card forces you to take 1 step forward and in front of you is a rock, you will walk into the rock and get stunned. If you walk into an opponent, you have to discard a card and both of you get stunned, which might also be a valid strategy. Like if you feel like they already have 2 stun cards, so maybe just run into them to knock them out. And yeah, there are also like instant cards you can play in between with 3 different types. The most interesting one is instant replacement. At the point where everyone reveals the chosen card, you can play instant replacement cards and just switch out your card if you have an instant replacement on your hand. So, which is quite interesting. Like if you have an instant replacement attack and you're not sure, are they going to attack me? So I play a defense card and they reveal their card. And, oh no, it's not an attack card. So then I can switch out for my attack card and attack instead. Though they are comparatively rare in the decks. Yeah.
Cool. So have you played Unmatched at all?
No. But I have heard Unmatched being spoken to in context of Senjutsu.
yeah. So I've not played this, but I have a lot of Unmatched. I've played a lot of Unmatched. I really like that, and so I'm listening to this, and I'm like, this sounds like it might also be up my alley with that kind of short game play frame time. Like 30 minutes, playable. 2 player. I mean, Unmatched now has like a co-op mode. I don't think it sounds as robust and as good as this. Like, I've played it, it's enjoyable, but it doesn't. It feels like it's patched on. So I was hoping you played Unmatched, so you could talk a little bit more about the
unfortunately
similarities
not.
and differences. That's unfortunate. I'll have to do a bit more digging because. While I'm not like I really enjoy fighting card games like this with the miniatures component. Street Masters is something I've been wanting to play forever. It was too expensive. It's too expensive because the reprint was done by Steamforged, and you know what they're like with massive amounts of stuff. But this sounds more contained in some ways. You can get the retail release. That's yeah.
So 2 things I need to talk about. First of all, solo experience, and then do I think it's a good game?
Okay, cool.
So
solo co-op.
Solo experience. There are a lot of solo ability cards. And the general idea is if you play against an AI opponent, which, I mean, technically you can play cooperatively against AI opponents. As I said, there is a co-op campaign included in the core game. And the idea is for each opponent, you create a deck. There are rules in the rulebook for how to create decks for different opponents. Specifically also how to create decks for the characters. And then when it comes to choosing a card, you just pick the top card from the deck. Yeah. And differently than for player-controlled characters, AI characters don't get runes when their deck runs out. They also have very small decks, like 4 to maybe 10 cards, and but instead they reshuffle their deck, and they also have cards that say, "Hey, now reset the deck," and then you reshuffle before it's run out. And now it's getting complicated because one big complaint about this game is the rulebook. I don't think it's a good rulebook. I think it's not very concise and in a few cases not very clear. But overall, it's okay. Until you come to the solo rules. And the solo rules are a mess. So, of course, the AI cards are built more or less the same as the regular ability cards. So you have optional movements on them, and you do have AI behavior. They can be aggressive or defensive, and they can have a preferred side. Like either they can prefer to just face you head on, or they can prefer to go towards your right side or towards your left side. Generally, they prefer to attack your rear if possible, but it's very confusing. So if you have like a movement card and go through these movement rules for AI in the core box, you are sometimes left wondering, what exactly is this AI doing now? It's just the first sentence. All AI opponents will move to their preferred range from your character while keeping their front facing aligned with your character and favoring the side established by the current preferred behavior.
Wait, what?
Yeah, so they have a preferred range. If it's an AI with a sword, of course they want to go adjacent to you. If they have a spear, they want to keep like 1 hex between you because they can have reach. They do want to face you, and they want to move towards your preferred side. But it's really like, okay, but what if they can't? And and then like with attack cards for characters, player characters, there is this commit to hit rule. So if you play an attack card, you have to resolve it in a way that allows you to connect the attack. So you are not allowed to play an attack card and use an optional movement to miss your attack on purpose, which might be relevant if your enemy blocks and could counter. There are counter attacks in the game. You are not allowed to try to avoid the counter by missing on purpose. If you can connect, you have to connect. AI enemies, it's a little bit more complicated. Generally, with their attack cards, they do have 2 sections. One of the attack, one if they are not able to connect the attack in any way, then you do the other thing. If they are potentially able to connect the attack, then you have, like 1 page in rulebook that goes through different possibilities, and it's like, okay, the 1, if they can hit from the rear, they attack from the rear. If 2, if they cannot attack from the rear and they don't need to move to perform the attack, they will remain where they attack. If the attack would be blocked, or if the attack or if the opponent would be hit by your attack if they stay where they are, or if they would also be hit by another AI opponent and there is an alternative place, it's a lot. And it's playable if you just go with your gut sometimes, but it has issues. And now we get to, is it a good game? What I have here is the original version, like 1.0. I played it. I figured, I don't like it. I wouldn't recommend it. And then I found out, wait, there is a new rulebook, 1.5. In fact, there's also a 1.7 version by now. And there's also a completely overhauled solo rulebook. And so just before this recording, I figured I should give this a try as well. And it plays a lot smoother now. Specifically for AI movement, they have a table now with priorities. So you look, okay, the AI is about to move. So you go first priority, it wants to be adjacent to you. Yeah, it's adjacent, fine. That's it. You don't have to do anything more. Yeah. And second priority, third priority. So you just go through it until you hit a point where it's that's what the AI wants to achieve now because it couldn't achieve the other things. And that's what it does. And it's very clear. It's concise. It plays fast now. Yeah. You just have this table you have to check. And that's pretty nice. It works now. With the new rulebook, it's not still not a perfect rulebook, but things have become way more clear. And they have changed one thing which caused a lot of discussions, namely the counters I mentioned. Originally, some defense cards have the possibility to counter an attack. So, for example, you have a defense card that can block from initiative 3 to 7. And it can also counter attacks from 4 to 6. So if you block an attack in the range of initiative 4 to 6, you also can counter, which means if you have an attack card in your hand with an initiative at this number or lower, you can immediately play it and resolve it after you block the enemy attack. They changed that, and now it's just if you counter, the enemy just gets 1 damage, and that's it. Makes it easier, makes it faster, particularly for new players like myself. It's way easier because you don't have to plan ahead and think, oh, I have this good card with a lot of counter potential, so I keep this attack card with low initiative in hand in case I can counter and play it then. No, you don't have to care for that. If you block and counter, enemy gets 1 damage. You can like it, you can like not. It makes it easier and faster at least. And they, apart from that, they didn't change much. They mostly clarifications. So now do I think it's a good game? Yeah, I do like it. They have announced, I'm very careful now, they have announced with their next Kickstarter, they have announced another game. They want to give the option to basically get replacement stuff for things they changed at cost. And so that's, I think, a good deal. They also released documents like PDFs of new cards, specifically AI cards. They changed how to build the decks, which also makes it way easier and streamlined. And so you can just print the stuff your own. I'm careful here because it's a little unclear as to where the company is at right now. It's Stone Sword Games, and apparently they have been sold or haven't, or but the guy who basically makes all these updates now is maybe the one who bought the company, and it's a little unclear if and in which direction the company will go. But yeah, so if you find a copy of this game, I think it's enjoyable. There are still some things I find weird. Namely, if you think like, hey, samurai fighting each other in deadly duels, what image do you have in head? Like surroundings? Fen? Is Fen still there?
Yeah, I'm here. You're asking someone who doesn't really have great mental visualization due to aphantasia. Most of my samurai understanding is a little bit of L5R and then Samurai Jack. So
okay, so I have either like, hey, a green meadow and a sakura tree, or maybe a rainy village, stuff like that.
Okay. No, I think of the bridge in Samurai Jack between Samurai Jack and the Scotsman. That's what comes to mind for me. When neither one of them is willing to give way to the other to cross the rope bridge.
They do have a sakura tree standee, which is ridiculously big for this small game, but it's there. The board is pretty small. It's just like this hex board. It has two sides. One side is snow, just a snowy landscape. The other side is a burning village. Then they have another board, which is a snowy bridge, and the backside is a frozen lake.
Well, I mean, I guess this takes place during the Ice Age.
Yeah, so it's... Why isn't there a meadow? Just a meadow, or just where do I put the sakura tree? Like in the burning village or on the frozen lake? I don't know. Well, it's in full bloom. Just to be clear here. Yeah, it's not a winter tree. It's so that's a bit weird, but okay. If you are like me and you don't have the mental capacity to build your own decks, there are signature decks for each character. So basically like, hey, if you are too stupid to build your own deck, just do this.
Hey, not stupid. Some people are builders, some people are pilots. It's fine.
Okay, I'm a pilot. And I haven't tried out many characters, just 2 so far, but I can say they play very differently. And one of these is a character I very much like, and Fen will very much like, the Ashigaru. At first, I was like, why in this game where like 2 characters fight each other and the core game has a warrior, like a samurai, a ronin, a master swordsman, his student, why is there an expansion with an Ashigaru, which for those who don't know is basically a conscripted peasant. But you can say, okay, it's a veteran, and he doesn't come alone. He comes with Hachiko, his dog. So, yeah, there is a good dog in there, which is, according to its card, loyal to the end. And so it's, yeah.
I don't know. No, I mean, it sounds nice, but I mean, I've played with Selfless Savior in Magic, and that's heartbreaking enough. I don't need a dog as a combat unit. No.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Interestingly, here...
I'm traumatized by this text, and you're going to be traumatized by it too. So this is the flavor text that came on Selfless Savior. She raised him from an orphan pup and gave him a life of love. With his last act, he thanked her.
Fuck.
I know. No. Oh. It's even worse. Okay. There's another one that says, I never had a chance to say thank you or goodbye. Like, damn it. So, I can't play a game where somebody might stab the dog. I've watched enough Games Night from the Yogscast, and they keep killing the... Gandalf keeps killing the dogs in that.
I mean, I totally get it. I do like the mechanics with the dog here, though, because each ability card of the dog, you basically have 2 decks, and also draw cards for the dog. Each has 2 sections, 1 red, 1 yellow. The dog can either be in offensive or defensive stance, and depending on which stance the dog is in, you take the top offensive action or the bottom defensive action. Which, for example, there's also lick wounds, and the dog can heal itself. or give the Ashigaru focus, or can actually attack with the offensive abilities. Now, you have 2 characters on the board if you play the Ashigaru, and if one of those dies, you flip the character card of the other. And for example, if the Ashigaru dies, the dog immediately goes into offensive mode, and in the advantage track goes to the top. And the Ashigaru, if the dog dies, immediately draws a new card and also goes to the top advantage. Like, you fucking killed my dog, I will kill you now. So, yeah.
Justifiable.
Definitely. But that's an expansion. Expansions are character packs. One thing that was very during the Kickstarter, you can't buy the characters separately. Like, if you want the Ashigaru and the dog, you also have to get the assassin, because of course the assassin and the Ashigaru are a pack. I don't know. So that's a little stupid. But yeah. Overall, nice combat game. I'm sure if you have like a group of people who like it and pour over those with deck building, it can be really interesting competitively. But just like giving it a try, like occasionally playing, it's also fun. Though keep in mind, if you have it and find someone who's willing to try it, chances are they will be stomped into the ground by you during the first game. I shared my experience when I tried it out on our Discord, and I've tried it first against the simplest AI. I only would have had to hit it once to win, and I lost with 5 health, and because I couldn't make it work, because I just didn't get how it goes. So I also checked, it's not really expensive. Like, the English version is out of stock right now in my go-to online shop, but they have it listed for 40 euros, the core box, which is totally fine. Just a quick mention on the side, because after I initially thought this game sucks, before I found the adjustments, I thought that if you're looking for something comparable, like a game, 2 players dishing at each other out, Sakura Arms is actually a game I really enjoy, and the deck building is way simpler there. It doesn't have miniatures. It's a strict card game. It does have a cool game board where you track the distance between the characters and your focus or something, which can be in different positions, and you can power up and stuff. And it does have a very anime look, because the whole story is, I think, that goddesses, which are basically anime characters, fight against each other. And the deck building, like, each character has very few cards. Like, this one has 11 cards, and you pick 2 characters and build a deck with their cards. In total, each deck has 11 cards. So yeah, basically you have 22 to 25 cards and pick 11 of those. If that's too much for you, each character has an overview of their cards, which you can also give your opponent so they know what they can expect you to do. And cards are marked either red or blue, and they say, hey, if you don't want to spend time building your own deck, pick 2 characters. For one character, pick the red cards, for the other the blue cards, and then you have a complete deck. and can play. So strict card game. Doesn't have miniatures. If you don't like unpainted miniatures and don't like painting, that's for you. If you don't want miniatures, that's for you. If you don't like this, maybe some felt randomness, like, hey, I play an attack, but I can't be sure it actually will connect because I don't know how with the movement, and maybe I don't have some. Yeah, this is an interesting alternative if it feels similar when playing. So I think that's it.
Cool. Okay. Definitely got me interested. I'm gonna do a little bit more research on the side. My local game store actually has the Kickstarter edition and the retail version. So the Kickstarter one's like 40% more expensive-ish. Seems to have actual content, not just like component upgrades, but seems to actually have more content in it.
I know it does have an additional solo campaign, like it has 2 solo campaigns, but I think character-wise it's the same, or maybe that one of the characters which you can otherwise get an expansion maybe in there, but
it seems to just be the same 4 characters, and some component upgrades. It's more of, it's not for me who'd be picking it up anyway, because it's more of the kind of thing my parents would be like, can we get you something for your birthday? And that's the kind of thing I can chuck on the list and get, because it's easier for them to they're just like, please let us just order some board games for you, because that's easy. yeah. Okay, so I've got one more short one. It's not a short game, but I'm not going to be going massively into this. And it is Sidereal Confluence. Cara, have you played this?
No.
Okay, so Sidereal Confluence is sort of one of those big praised games. Pretty much most of the board game channels at one point or another review it and talk about it. It was originally meant to be the trading and economy thing for a larger game, and it's kind of its own thing. So sidereal is a word that means related to distant stars. So this is a coming together of civilizations from far distant stars, and it is exclusively a economy and trading game where the concept is everybody needs to cooperate in order to generate stuff, and there can only ultimately be one winner, and they're the ones who get to influence the politics and economy and direction of this galactic community going ahead. So it's a kind of friendly or friendly competition. I think, it's like in the spirit of cooperation, you have to cooperate and try and go ahead all the time. Even to the point that sometimes the most beneficial thing you can do is give someone something and not get anything back. So I'm gonna try and go through the rules of the game in a fairly light and fast form. So that's kind of the setup. There's 9 different species. 8 of them play within this whole idea of helping each other. The 9th one, I wouldn't recommend playing them for starting characters, because effectively they're like a bunch of mobsters and they put the lean on everyone and they're mean and nasty. They're definitely not for learning, but some people may enjoy them. It takes place over 6 turns. Each phase of the game is simultaneous, so everyone is doing their stuff at exactly the same time. All information is open with the exception of victory points. Almost everything in the game is up for trade, with the exception of victory points, including sections of your economy, your actual cards that let you do stuff. They're called converters, and essentially you can make a deal for almost anything. And the last thing is, all deals are binding under all circumstances, even if it passes across multiple turns. If you promise to do something, you have to do it. If you cannot do it, you are forced to pay compensation to the person who you have broken the deal with. So it is very interesting on that front, because at all times you're not worrying about somebody conning you and going, oh, if you lend me this turn, next turn I'll lend you that, and then going, haha, not happening. Instead, they have to, and that is really interesting in itself. So the components of the game, victory points, as I mentioned, they're kept hidden behind your screen. You can't trade them. Everything else always has to be out in front for people to see. You've got various types of resources. They are put through converters, and generally converters will upgrade those resources and pay you back extra. The cards are very good at explaining what you're putting in, what you're getting out, and how much of a improvement it is in quality, because more or less every single resource roughly relates to everything else. You also have ships. So let's see, you've got victory points, which are worth roughly an octagon resource, which is worth 2 of the larger cubes, or worth 3 of the smaller cubes, or worth 3 ships. So you know roughly how everything's worth there. And so if somebody's offering you something that's worth a victory point and they're asking for, say, 4 ships in return, they're getting the better part of the deal, and you have that information right there, so you know to negotiate further, or maybe you don't want to. Then you've got all the cards. These cards represent technologies. They're called converters in game. They have a little image on them that shows you what you're putting in on resources on one side and then what you're going to get out on the other side. As mentioned, it also tells you how effective the upgrade is between them. These can be traded. If they have your race background on them, you can only loan them for a turn and then they come back to you. There is actually one race that cannot run its own converters and exclusively has to lend those converters to other players. That race actually won our last game we played, which was pretty cool. You know, they won by being incredibly generous with everyone. So while everyone was benefiting more individually, overall they benefited the most across every single deal, which was pretty cool. You can, of course, just if it doesn't have your race background on it, you can actually just permanently trade it to someone. I was last playing the faction that when they make their technology, they make it just for themselves. And so I had the ability to barter. If somebody wanted a technology, the only way to get it was to pay me for a license to permanently get it. You also have colonies, planets. They produce like base resources. You can even upgrade them to make more resources by flipping them. There's a whole load of research team cards, and these, once you take them, they're a project you need to pay a certain amount of resources for. When you do, they flip, and the person who invents it gets the matching card from their stack as a technology, as a converter, and they get that many points. And then at the end of that turn, everyone else is also going to get access to that technology as it gets shared into the pool. As I said, 6 turns. First thing that happens is there's 3 phases: trade, economy, and confluence, which is the bidding phase. Economy comes first. You run all your white arrow converters. They most converters can only be run once, and they will produce stuff. And then everyone has to run every single converter that they want to, and then that's the only time you can do that stuff. And then you move on to the trade phase, which is at this point now, that's where you're negotiating with everyone to try and get stuff ready in order to be able to run more economy in the future. It is wild. It's absolutely wild, because as I say, everything is up for trade, and there's times where you're sat there and you're looking like, I've got a ton of black cubes. I keep producing these black cubes. I've got no technology that uses them, and you're just looking for people who want to make a trade, even if it's just a straight even trade, or sometimes their advantage, just so you can get going. And each race is rich in one thing, but suffers in others. Like the space bees are great at producing food, and they really like colonies, but they get an excess of that, massive amounts, and they struggle with other things, so they need to swap and trade for it. And then the third phase is the confluence phase. Basically, this is where you bid ships in order to take cards. The first row is colonies, and so you're bidding for new colonies, and basically everybody puts a number of ships in their hand, including 0, reveals with a bid, those are those are spent, and the person who bid most gets first pick of a colony, and then downwards. If it ends up somebody bid and there's nothing left for them to take, they don't pay and they get to take their ships back. You have to pay your full bid otherwise, though. There's some tiebreakers if two people bid the same amount, depending on like the races, and the tiebreakers like if you've got less colonies than the other person, you get to go ahead of them, or less research teams. The second half is bidding for research teams. Same thing. There'll be a row of those cards out. You're bidding for the one that you want to take first, generally, like on the very first round, you want to bid about 3 for a colony. You don't want to bid more than 1 for a research team, otherwise you'll really mess yourself up a bit further down the line. And then after the bidding, all those cards get, the cards in the like early slots get discarded to churn through unwanted cards. New ones come in, a new confluence card is flipped, which starts the new turn, and you just go round and round like that. It is really like interesting. There's even some converters you can run during the trade phase, which is very interesting, because you're trying to just get those, because they generally produce like victory points and things. And yeah, that's the flow of the game, really. It's more complicated than that. It looks like a lot. Your typical Sidereal Confluence table is full of stuff. Like there's piles and piles of resources, piles and piles of cards. There's people like talking over each other, perhaps even stepping aside a little bit to try and actually get a clear discussion on what they're looking to do and sort out. You'll suddenly have somebody waving something in the air going, has anyone got any of these, or does anyone want this? It is frantic, and always really fun. It is incredibly satisfying. I like those games where you put one lot of cubes in and then a different lot of cubes pop out the other end. That's satisfying, and this game is full of that. It is totally unique, and I really cannot recommend it enough. The races have sheets that on one side tell you about them and provide like base sort of information, and then they also have a section that tells you how to play your race so you understand. They all have nice, clean, clear, like this race is this difficulty, and this isn't like you go, I'm good at board games, I'm going to play one a little bit more difficult, because you will just struggle. It is like absolutely worth playing the earlier and the easier difficulty races before you get onto the more complex ones, because for example, like as I mentioned, one of the races cannot run their own converters, so they have these amazing converters, but they need other people to run them, so they're constantly like, hey, look at this look how good this converter is. It'll if you run it in here, it'll give you all of these great, really high quality resources, masses of them. Can I just have a kickback from it? And if you can't convince people, you're just not going to get anywhere. The faction I played previously is the very one that does like their own. When they generate the technology, they keep it to themselves. I think it's the Imdril Nomads I was playing. And I, for the whole game, couldn't get people to buy into my technologies. It was just not happening. People would just carry on regardless, and I couldn't get any of those deals going, so I struggled to get anywhere and ended up, I think, last or second to last. Not that I minded, because it was immense fun. So it's just I think it should be in just about everyone's collection. Because even if you only play it once a year, which is kind of how we play it, it is always memorable, and when you come back to the table the next time round, you're like, oh boy, here we go again. Am I going to play the same as I did previously? Am I going to dip out into something new? What did I learn from last time? It's something special. There is an expansion called Bifurcation. We intended to play it. We ended up not doing so because it has a bunch of alternative ways to play the various different races, so they're familiar but with a bit of a new spin on them. no, everyone wanted to just play the original races that they hadn't played before and just experience that again. So maybe next year we'll get on to playing with bifurcation. But yeah, that Sidereal Confluence, it's amazing. It is just so great, and one of the best trading economy games I've ever played. Yeah. But like I say, you can go on a Board Game Geek and you can see pictures like the one I'm sharing right now.
Yeah, it's glorious.
It is. We have a big table and ours was still full. I had to be really, really tight on how people were with resources. I was like, look, there's the trays specifically for them. Keep them in the trays, because otherwise we're just going to get overwhelmed. But it is worth it. It is absolutely amazing, and it's great considering how much there is on the table. You really do understand at least what everything you have is doing. I think in that way it feels a little bit like Root, in that the real trick with Root is once you know how all of the factions play, you can really start understanding the flow of the game. That's similar with this. We don't get to play it enough to really master any of them. I think I know like how 3 factions properly run. But yeah, it's fantastic. So, Cara, honestly, if you can find a group of people, even like 4 people who want to play it, it is so delightful. 6 is a sweet number. 7 people, brilliant, great convention game. Yeah. So I think unless you have anything more you'd like to say, Cara, we can wrap up.
No. Just I heard of it. I saw reviews. I thought it looked really cool, but I'm sure it's not as cool as they say, because where am I gonna get the people? And now you are like, hey, it's really cool, and then
Yeah, it's
okay.
it's really cool. It's really cool. Like 4 players is sweet. 5, 6 players is amazing. I've never played it 3 player. That's the 1 player count I don't know, but I think given how mechanically, no, I think they say 4 players is the minimum. Yeah. I mean, 4 has listed as the minimum, but given how satisfying it is mechanically, that is a delight. So yeah, that's Sidereal Confluence.
Okay.
Sidereal Confluence. Sorry. Let's wrap it up, shall we? So that has been us, the last Standee, for this 2-person natter on about Game of Thrones. And I've once again forgotten to put Cara. Please save me from my
Senjutsu.
Yes, there we are. And Sidereal Confluence. 3 recommendations easily for all of them. If you have the group sizes or the enjoyment of those 2-player combat card games. Well, thanks very much for listening. I've been Fen, and I've been joined by Cara.
Hi, bye.
And remember, until the next time, that the second E in Standee stands for excluded, because one of us was missing.